NXT 2026. And this will be moderated by Editor-in-Chief of Newsx, Rishabh Gulati. Also joining him is Megha Sharma, Senior Executive Editor of Newsx. The floor is yours, Rishabh, for this much-awaited evening session.
That we need to have. Thank you, Uday. It's always a pleasure to be sitting in conversation with Piyush. Piyush, I love having the policy conversations, the technical conversations with you, and perhaps this is the perfect podium to have those conversations. Over the course of the past 24 hours, we've had nearly from 40 countries sitting parliamentarians who have come. They've come from 30 different global universities, students, professors, academicians. The trade landscape in which India is operating has changed so dramatically in the past 6 months. What can you summarize for us of all that has happened and all the FTAs and all the ratification that's taking place?
Well, I think it's great to be a part of this international engagement that you've put together, Rishabh. Congratulations. Congratulations also to Karthikeya for bringing all the illustrious ladies and gentlemen from around the world. And I do hope such engagements will help forge better partnerships and showcase the India story to the rest of the world going forward. When you ask me about the last 6 months, I think if one has to summarize it in one sentence, we have emerged out of the shadows of the past and are today forging new relationships from a position of strength, full of confidence about our ability to engage with the developed world on fair terms and conditions, offering to the world trusted partnership of the world's fastest growing large economy, which in the next 22 years, by 2047, is aspiring to be a $30 trillion economy, offering the world the greatest opportunity that mankind has ever offered to grow, to expand business, to develop. And I think this delta of $4 trillion economy growing to a $30 trillion economy is today India's biggest strength.
What are the industries, sir, that you see ramping up for trade in India? We talk about semiconductor just starting off. We're not just the soft power. There's a hard manufacturing power now.
I think India, with 1.4 billion aspirational young people, is today a land of opportunity across sectors. We recognize that we need to be self-reliant, what we say Atmanirbhar Bharat, but we also recognize we cannot be a powerful economy working alone. We have to work with friends. When we talk of India first, we appreciate that it will be India first along with our friends who will also have offerings to give to India and for whom we will have many offerings to offer. And therefore, for us, the next few years are going to be full of opportunities across manufacturing, across the services sector, in the digital space, in soft sectors like health, education, and tourism. To my mind, with a young population with an average age of 28.5 years, that demographic dividend that we always were worried about is today our biggest asset. And with the internet having an all-pervasive influence on our people, we have 1 billion internet users in India. We have probably the second largest users of ChatGPT, showing the growing engagement with newer technologies that our youth are actively involved in. Clearly shows that this young aspirational India is seeing what's happening around the world today, wishes to have a better quality of life for themselves and their families, And that is what drives India and powers India to this fast growth that we are seeing.
I have a question for you. When talking about ease of doing business, ease of living, and we're talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, how are they related and what efforts are underway?
When Honorable Prime Minister talks of ease of doing business or ease of living, he very clearly recognizes that we have, over the years, built up a lot of baggage which is unnecessary in the lives of the common man, the lives of small businesses. Of course, we inherited a British ecosystem where the bureaucracy was pretty much all-pervasive. They left behind several laws, rules, regulations, compliances, processes, procedures, which are not conducive to doing business with ease. There were complications. For minor misdemeanors, you could be hauled up in court. Jail sentences were prescribed for very small mistakes one may do. It was almost a threatening relationship or an adversarial relationship between the stakeholders and the government. Some of it also relates to the fact that we were under colonial rule. We were subjects of the British Empire. And therefore, they had to keep us under a constant fear. Or also, there was a trust deficit between the citizens of India and the then colonial rulers. What Prime Minister Modi is doing is dismantling all these barriers to comfortable life, to doing business without fear or favor. And towards that end, we are in a journey where we are reducing compliances, eliminating many parts of law which provide for criminal action for small misdemeanors. We are simplifying processes, procedures. We are making the life of business easier. We're making the life of the common man easier. Let me share one small example. It was small enough for the government to implement, but had a transformational impact on the lives of the people of India. Very earlier on in 2014, when Prime Minister Modi became the Prime Minister and our government came in, one of the earliest decisions was to eliminate the requirement to get a notary public, to certify a Xerox of an original document. Now, at that point of time, I think all of us were much used to going to a notary public, paying him, I think it used to cost 25 rupees or 20 rupees. He would put a rubber stamp and sign, saying that, yes, this is a photocopy of the original document. Now look at the cumbersome nature of getting a certification for something which you are submitting to any government department. Prime Minister Modi eliminated that and said, I trust the people of India. If they are signing and certifying a document and saying it is a Xerox of the original, I trust the citizen of India. Now, it seems to be such a small thing. But can you imagine billions, seriously, billions of documents needed to be notarized for day-to-day working, for many licenses, for, you go for a driving license, you got to submit documents. You go for a ration or for an income tax number or anywhere you go, you need to submit documents. And that meant so much paperwork was added, so much effort was added. A small step like that actually has saved billions of man hours and a lot of money of our common citizens and a lot of unnecessary hardship.
Piyush, I want to come back to the big subject because the talk of the town for the past 6 months, as I mentioned, has been the trade deals. The UK-India, you've had EU-India, which I know still needs to be ratified and it'll be accelerated because, the political will is there. When do you see the impact of this? Because obviously a trade deal is signed, then the companies have to come and then actually have to sell goods. When do you see a trade volume impact really hitting?
Well, I got a little late coming in here because I had a call with my UK counterpart. And amongst the various things we discussed One was the operationalizing or bringing into effect the UK-India trade deal. Now, Rishabh, I don't know if you're aware that in the past, any trade deal that the UK has entered into has taken years to ratify. They have a very, very elaborate process there. Procedure is cumbersome, goes through both houses of parliament with a lot of opposition and a lot of problems before any trade deal comes into effect. The people of India and the people of UK are so committed to this deal, and it's so complementary in nature. It helps both economies, because of which it sailed through Parliament in UK, and we signed that trade deal on 24th of July last year, and we were discussing dates of middle of April or end of April, in the second half of April, when we will be bringing into effect a massive and pretty transformational trade deal between UK and India. In a short period of less than 8 or 9 months, a deal of such significant consequence, which otherwise would have taken many years. The European Union, over the years, has entered into many agreements. But there have always been some states supporting, some member countries opposing. They've taken years. The Mercosur agreement, for example, was agreed in 2019. It's still struggling to come into effect. We only entered into that agreement, that is the in-principle agreement, during the visit of Her Excellency Ms. von der Leyen, the EU Commissioner, on 27th of January. The legal scrub is proceeding very fast, and we are looking at bringing that into effect within calendar 26. Now, it will probably be the fastest trade deal that a 27-nation bloc has approved. It only goes to show that India today is the flavor of developed countries who look at India as a trusted partner, who want to have India in their supply chains, who are looking at India as a partner with whom they would like to share technologies, they'd like to build their manufacturing base in India, because Indians are extremely talented, very skilled workforce is available, young people in India. We never steal anybody's technologies, so they know when they co-produce in India or co-design a new product in India, their technology is in safe hands. India is respected and reputed to honor somebody else's intellectual property. They recognize that our people are very hardworking. So the other day, the Apple people were telling me that their output in India is the best compared to any other manufacturing facility they have anywhere in the world. And 80% of their plant is run by our young women, our women of substance. So the capabilities that we offer are truly a very compelling case. And the 9 free trade agreements that the Modi government has finalized are all with developed and prosperous nations. Amongst them, Mauritius is the only country with a little lower per capita income. But they are into financial services and tourism, which complements our economy. They are no threat to us. The rest of the 37 countries are relatively much, much richer countries, with per capita incomes ranging from $30,000, $40,000 to $200,000. So we complement each other, and therefore we are able to bring a balance, very often by having a overlay of some other component. So when I did the FTA deal with Switzerland, Norway, Liechtenstein and Iceland, they are all put together a $2.5 trillion economy. We are a $4 trillion today and will become a $30 trillion in the next 22 years. So I said, look, we have to bring balance with some other element. And that's where the element of $100 billion foreign direct investment, long-term capital, not money into the stock market. That's not counted. If Norges Fund puts 100 billion into our stock market, that's not counted. It's FDI from these countries enshrined in the FTA, and should they not bring that and create 1 million jobs, I can claw back concessions. That is the level of commitment. So these countries have invested barely $10 billion in the last 25 years, but have committed to invest $100 billion in the next 15. New Zealand, they've invested only $70 million in the last 25 years in India, FDI. But they've committed to invest $20 billion in the next 15 years. Look at the transformation. And that shows that India is becoming a very attractive destination for investments, for manufacture, and to capture global markets when you produce at scale. And with a large domestic market coupled with doors being opened across the world, we have 2/3 of global trade covered by our FTAs today. So we really become an integral part of supply chains amongst trusted partner countries.
I have a follow-up question on that. Of course, there has been a lot of talk about whether there is going to be a trade deal that will happen with the United States of America. We were on the verge of completing it, but of course it has been a little vague, especially in wake of the developments that have taken place in the United States. So what's the status?
Well, I think there's some absolutely baseless reports circulating since today morning by some news agencies, which you should trash. They have absolutely no basis in it at all. We have a very good trade agreement with the United States of America. We have been able to protect all our sensitive sectors. So agriculture, all the products of India's interests have been safeguarded. For example, no GM products can come in, no rice, wheat, corn, no maize, no soy meal. So all the products and many, many, many more which we are sensitive about, no dairy, no poultry, they've all been kept out. It's a very powerful agreement. It's great for India, it's great for the United States of America, as should every deal be. It has to be a win-win for both sides to benefit from. It'll help us get the best of technologies from America, so we can become the data center of the world. We can have large investments in data centers, post the successful AI Impact Summit. We are looking at diversifying our energy resources, and the current war only goes on to prove that that's very essential for our long-term economic stability. We are looking at much greater engagement with market access on a preferential basis compared to most of our competitor countries. So it's a very good trade agreement. We have to build in this preferential benefits that are available to India under this trade agreement. And that process is underway, and we are working with them on that.
Piyush, but it also depends on trade routes, right? I mean, a lot of transformative things are happening in India. You have the Visakhapatnam port now. Another major port is coming up in Maharashtra, which is a home state from you, from where you are elected.
Vadhavan.
Internally, our logistics cost as percentage of GDP has gone down thanks to the efforts that happen in the railways, roadways. All of that contributes to trade. But what do we do about conflicts? There is a conflict that is going on that is potentially disrupting trade. What do we do about it?
Well, I can't do anything about a conflict that's between two other countries or set of countries. It's a fact of life, and we all have to accept that. But India has shown resilience in the face of the biggest of challenges in the past, and we will continue to be resilient in the face of any challenges that conflicts throw up or problems around the world throw up. India has a lot of strengths within the country, and we have a lot of powerful relationships around the world. And I'm very, very confident that under Prime Minister Modi's leadership, India will emerge from the current international problem, not of our making, stronger and better.
Okay, quickly, sir, before I know we're short on time. On the specificities you mentioned, we are now thinking of 6 gigawatts, 10 gigawatts, 20 gigawatts of data centers. Small modular reactors are coming in potentially to power them. We've already crossed 50% renewable energy or non-fossil fuel energy in this country. The roadways are coming, the highways are coming. Which are the specific areas, the AI Impact Summit you mentioned, which are the specific areas that you're seeing? Space, I can keep going on and on, which you see as next generation industry drivers, that they might be tiny industries today, but 10 years from now, they're going to be the nerve center.
In multi-answer questions, there's always a last point, all of the above. I think you've listed out several sectors which will all have significant relevance for India in the future. Just think about it. 1.4 billion dreams have to be met. A $4 trillion economy is going to grow to a $30 trillion economy. So every element of our economy has tremendous potential to grow. If data centers come in, and you're right, we are aspiring at least $200 billion investment in the next 5 years in data centers alone, which could mean anywhere between 15 and 20 gigawatt of data centers. But why do the data centers find India a great place to do business? Because Prime Minister Modi, when he came in 2014, had the sagacity to convert several regional grids in India into one national grid. Now that we have one national grid, which is upward of 530 gigawatt today, and expected to grow probably to 1,000 gigawatt in the next 7 years, you now have a very powerful grid which can handle the spurts of power that are bound to happen in a data center. Now, not many countries in the world will have such a big grid, interconnected grid. That also allows intermittent power like solar energy, wind energy, in a much bigger volume to be fed into the grid because of the sheer size of the grid, which means it opens up the doors to larger investments in solar and wind. We are, of course, looking at green energy through green hydrogen or green ammonia, or to power our future needs, or nuclear power to further our future decarbonization efforts. All of these will bring enough and more capacity, providing redundancy, which is required for data center. I'm just picking one example.
Yes.
A data center, they look at 3 levels or 4 levels of redundancy. All data center companies are looking for green power to power them. And energy costs in India is amongst the lowest in the world, as are data costs. So and as is real estate cost. Our data centers will involve building the data center infrastructure. Labor goes into that, creating millions of jobs. It will involve investing heavily in renewable energy, again creating millions of jobs. All of this giving us data centers where large amount of foreign exchange will come in and investments will come into India. Finally, they will provide service, cloud service or other processing service to the rest of the world, earning us large amounts of foreign exchange in India. In fact, very often I get amused at some of the people who don't realize that how Prime Minister Modi thinks in a very holistic manner. Whenever he plans something, it's not a linear thinking. It's a multi-dimensional plan that he builds up. So it's not just about data centers getting tax benefits up to 2047 when foreign companies invest in India to provide cloud services internationally. It's a very holistic vision which will seed millions of jobs, provide employment to our young men and women, provide opportunity to our innovators who will also be needing data, earn us large amounts of foreign exchange either as initial investment in data centers, in the related infrastructure, in power transmission lines, in green energy. So the investment will not be the 200 billion in data centers, probably be $500 billion in green energy and data centers and all of them put together. Create millions of jobs in the whole ecosystem, right from construction up to green energy and then managing the show. And then continue to earn us foreign exchange through provision of services. Encourage our innovators and startup ecosystem, for which we are also providing $12 billion through our RDIF fund or the startup fund of funds. That $12 billion in India is equivalent to spending $150 billion in Europe or Switzerland or America, because our costs of innovation are much lower. Coupled with the private sector funding and the academia, the powerful IITs and all that we have, we are looking at a $500 billion of innovation in the next few years being seeded by $12 billion of RDIF funds. We'll be doing an equivalent of a $500 billion innovation being done in Europe or America. So it's the thinking in the Modi government is never ever unidimensional. It's always multidimensional.
Well, you made it very, very exciting, and it's certainly exciting times. Piyush Goyal, as always, sir, thank you for your time and giving us so much energy and detail late into the evening. I know you have a flight to catch. Thank you very much for being with us on
Thank you
NXT.
very much, Rishabh. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for joining us there. Piyush Goyal ji, Union Commerce and Industry Minister, Government of Bharat, speaking on the Next in Trade segment at NXT 2026. Thanks indeed for your time. All right, let's quickly turn our focus now to our next segment, where we're going to be speaking about Next in Global Affairs with our panelists who, of course, have assembled here from across the globe. To speak about regional perspectives on the New World Order, I invite on stage Mr. Jason Isaacson, Chief Policy and Political Affairs Officer, AJC. Mr. Isaacson, welcome to NXT. Could we have you on stage, please? Also with us in this session is India Practice Head for Eurasia Group, Pramit Pal Chaudhary. Pramit Pal Chaudhary, welcome. I invite you on stage. And moderating this session will be Director, Asia Pacific Institute for AJC, Shira Lornberg.